sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. I wonder this time where she's gone. I wonder if she is gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. She goes away, and I know, 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 I know. You're gonna leave a young thing alone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. I wonder this time where she's gone. I wonder if she's gonna stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. When she goes away, anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away, I'm lonely.
Good evening. My name's Bing. I want to welcome you to Low Key, and I hope you will make comments, share virtual applause for the Low Key band tonight. This was put together on pretty short order, but fabulously so. So say hello and thank you to Sean Stroop on bass, Chris McKay, Professor Porkchop on piano and vocals.
Howdy.
And first time at Low Key, Jeremy Hayes on drums. Special word of thanks, Jeremy, for coming and being with us.
Thank you.
I want to say a word while I can. I said this in the email, and there are those that are watching that may not get the email, may not know about it. If you want an email from us at Low Key, you can send a note to the church. You can do it as an email from our church website, which is stlukesunc.community. That takes you directly to our website. I forgot to turn my microphone on. I was just talking about it. Did anybody hear me introduce the band? You did kind of. I'm going to do that again because these folks are important. Chris McKay,
Yes, sir.
Professor Porkchop on the piano and vocals. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Honor.
On short notice. Sean Stroop, who was scheduled to be here all along and has gotten this fine group together. Sean, thank you, on bass. And first time at Low Key, Jeremy Hayes, who's on drums. Jeremy, thanks for being with us. We're pleased to have you a part of the musical family of Low Key. Some of you may not know this, but we are continuing Low Key as a live stream broadcast, even though we're not meeting. And we're going to do this as long as we possibly can. And the possibly can part literally depends on our financial ability to do this. I'm thrilled that we can continue to give at least this little gig to the musicians that serve us so wonderfully well and have done so faithfully for over 3 years. If you can make a contribution to Low Key that helps provide these musicians and provide for their livelihood, we would be thrilled for you to do that. You can do that on our website, and I believe there's a link to that from our Facebook page. So if you'll just check, and if you've got questions, send a comment to me, and I'll make sure that you get information. Again, I want to welcome you all to Low Key. Low Key is a service of recovery that's a unique kind of event. It's something that typically is thrilled and enlivened by the fact that we get to be together and share the presence of each other without an agenda, but simply in the joy of our lives of recovery, which are a gift. Our lives are, in fact, given to us without our deserving it, and a gift for which we are profoundly grateful. And so that's what we do on Friday nights at Low Key. We celebrate that. I'm glad that you're here. If you want to share this with anybody else, you can certainly do that. Our Facebook page is a public page. Anybody can be on it. And if you would, gather folks that you know that love good music, folks that may or may not be associated with the recovery community, because this is what we're about. We're about celebrating the spirit of recovery, and that in that spirit, we are all strengthened and encouraged, given what we need. God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We're going to hear now a song, My Only Singing. I do this song every week. It's the theme song of Low Key. So, thank you. Yes, sir. Jesus on the main line, now tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. If you're afraid of getting sick, or tell him what you want. If you're afraid of getting sick, or tell him what you want. If you're afraid of getting sick, or tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. Chris will tell him, Chris will tell him. Thank you. If you are feeling all alone, well, tell him what you want. If you're feeling all alone, well, tell him what you want. If you're feeling all alone, tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. The line ain't never busy, so just and tell him what you want. Our virtual choir now, y'all sing. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. 2 more times. Just call him up and tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. Sweet. Thank you.
Oh, it's our turn. The time for me to leave is almost here. The day I hope would never come is near. Though many hearts are broken, we must somehow carry on. And I think you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. I thought my life was over when we met. So many things to remember, so much to forget. It was you saw me through, from the darkest to the dawn. Still I think I'm gonna miss you when I'm gone. Why, I'm a modest man, and it hurts me to say these words to you. But after all we've been through, well, it's the least that I can do. So instead of farewell, I'll just say so long. And as for the light that you've seen me in, leave it on. I'm a better man for knowing you. Loving you has made me strong. And I think you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. Yeah, I think I'm gonna miss you when I'm gone. Blind mice, see how they play. Three blind mice, hope they go away. Save it for rainy day. Watch out for that farmer's wife. She got a big old knife. Three blind mice. See how they run. Three blind mice look like they having fun. Wife got 'em on the run. Watch out for that farmer's wife. She got a great big knife. She'll cut off your chair with a carving knife. If you're a husband, might make your wife. Watch out for that farmer's wife. Come within an inch of your life, and it's all quite tragic till you get to heaven. You cut off your chair with a carving knife. If you're a husband, might make your wife. Watch out for that farmer's wife. Come within an inch of your life. It's all quite tragic till you get to heaven.
I can hear y'all. And that makes me all the more, I was going to say this, believe it or not, but all the more important that I say it. The sound man we have here at St. Luke's for Low Key is Gregory. And there are untold hours that Gregg has put in, and there have been multiple comments on tonight's live stream commenting on how good the sound is. And that is, there are two reasons for that. One is we have extraordinarily gifted musicians. They make music in here that it's an art. It is a gift. And I can't say how much I appreciate that fact. But for that sound to be available to all of you is because of the gift of Gregory. And he has a gift as well. He has a gift of ones and zeros. This is digital. And the fact that he can turn this incredible music into ones and zeros and send it to you and you get it back as incredible music. As far as I'm concerned, it's a mystery of the universe that only God and Gregg understand. So a special word of thanks to Gregg. And if you ever have the opportunity to see him, talk to him, speak to him, please give him your thanks for what he does for us here. I sent out in the email a request. We have a step talker every week that speaks on their experience with one of the 12 steps because I'm associated with a 12-step recovery program. I work these steps. These steps are a guide and a discipline for my life. And it's important for all of us who are in 12-step recovery work to stay attentive to the steps. And for me, particularly the spiritual dimension of the steps, because this is a gift to me that came from God. This program, these steps, all of the principles of this program, the traditions of this program, all of it together is more than I could have imagined, and it continues to unfold in ways that surprise me and confound me. I don't try to understand it. I do, but I try to be, I try not to understand it too much because that just gets me in a bad spot. But I can think myself into a corner real quickly. And when I get there, then I'm in trouble. But I want to tell you all that what I'm going to do is I'm going to share on step 8 tonight, my experience with it. But I would like for you, if you would be willing, to pray about it, ask your sponsor about it, consider it. We would love to have people come and share your experience with one of the 12 steps. We do this every Friday night. We've got this place scrubbed and cleaned. You will bump into fewer people here than you would, I don't know, at Kroger at 3 o'clock in the morning. We've got a crew of 3 and the band. And the band, as you see, is up here on stage. You can keep whatever distance is necessary. We're very conscious and diligent about the caution and that we need to exercise in continuing to do low-key and make it possible, but to do it in a way that is responsibly medically and socially and spiritually. If you would be willing, please let me know in some way. I would be thrilled to invite you to come and schedule a time when you can share your experience. It's just 5 minutes. It's easy enough, and it's about your experience, and nobody knows that. Nobody can tell you it's wrong because that's your experience. So if you would do that, please let me know in some way so that you might share what you have to offer in this big meeting, as it were. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, step 8. Step 8 comes in that middle section. You know, there are 3 in the beginning and 3 in the end, and then there's 6 right there in the middle. And step 8 said, well, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're kind of paired up. And step 8 says, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay, when I saw this step and my sponsor gave it to me to do, I said, great, another inventory. We are always making inventories, making lists, making lists, making lists. I was really hoping that making the list of my character defects would be the last, but alas, it was not. So I had to make a list of all those persons I had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. All right, so with step 4 and 5, I did the work I needed to do with myself. I had to know my past. I had to know what I had done. I had to know what had driven me to it. I had to say it out loud and confess it. And then I had to be willing to receive whatever forgiveness I was capable of receiving so that I could continue this work. In step 6 and 7, I had to know the character defects. I was entirely ready for the causes of my errors to be removed. And then, of course, step 7, humbly asking God to take it. So I've made some peace with myself in 4-5. I make some peace with God in 6-7. And now I've got to make peace with everybody else. And that's what I begin when I come to the threshold of this with step 8. So I've got to make an inventory. I've got to make a list of all those people that I have harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. When all and everyone, when the steps uses those words, I immediately, my alcoholism kicks in. I want to qualify those. Yes, everybody except, and then I start my list. And I can make that list quicker than I can make the list of everybody I've harmed, the ones that particularly that I'm willing to make amends to. So for me, it is important that I know that this rigorous honesty, this thorough working of this program applies very much right here. And I cannot do it alone. I have to do this with my sponsor. And so my sponsor is the one that told me, Bing, make a list. Go through all of your step 4, there are folks in that, and make a list. But then there are folks that aren't on your step 4. And you've still got a lot of people that you harmed in one way or another that you need to make amends to. So don't worry about the making amends. Just make the list. Well, why is my first question. Why do I need to do that? Most of this stuff is long gone and forgotten. Nobody cares anymore, yada, yada. That's my take on it. That's the making excuses so I don't have to put people on this list. But step 8, particularly as it's described in the 12 steps and 12 traditions, makes real clear why I have to do this. Bill W. says on that first page, dealing with step 8, we consider how, with our newfound knowledge of ourselves, we may develop the best possible relations with every human being we know. Well, there are those all and every words again. To develop the best possible relations with every human being I know. If I know people, though they may not be an active part of my life today, people that I have harmed in the past, they belong on the list. If there are people that I am currently in relationships with that I don't have the best of relationships with, they belong on the list. If there are people that others tell me, remind me, this list will grow from any number of sources, and it did for me. And I'm sure it's not done yet. There are many more that still need to be added to that list so that I can become willing to make amends to them. So that's the work that I had to do. And I had to do it with my sponsor because I wanted to put people on that list that didn't belong there. There were people that I held resentments towards, and I wanted to put them on the list because, you know, I had damaged the relationship. And I wanted to go and make amends to them and tell them how they had done something that I was resentful for, and I'm sorry that I got resentful. Well, my sponsor was real quick to tell me, Bing, you just want to revisit your self-justification for being pissed off. I don't need to make amends to people that I was angry at or resentful towards, because that is not the harm that this is talking about. I need to be sure that I have separated myself from the past harm that I have done and the defects that continue to lurk in my life. So, step 8, made a list of all persons I had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. My willingness finally came down to this agreement that I had with my sponsor. I am willing to make amends to them all as time, occasion, and circumstance makes it possible. He was satisfied with that because he said to me this caveat, Bing, you stay in that conversation with God, and the things that you are least willing to do, you pay attention for the opportunity that God might give, the time, the occasion, and the circumstance. And remember that I am the one that committed to my willingness. And in that moment, I've got to pray for willingness to be willing. Well, that's all I know about step 8. Thank you all. I'm going to ask the band if they'll come back, and they're going to continue to play now for a while. And I'll come back in just a little bit. And towards the end, we'll have a moment of silence. We will also have a final word of blessing after all this is over. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate your presence. We are glad to God. The spirit of this fellowship is remarkable and wonderful. Thank you.
You guys feel like doing swinging? She gets too hungry for dinner at 8. She loves the theater, but never comes late. She never bothers with people she hates. That's why the lady is a tramp. Won't go to Harlem in a king of umbrellas. Won't go to Bosia, not even the Merles. Won't dish a dirt with the rest of the girls. That's why the lady is a champ. She likes wind in her hair, life without care. I'm broke, it's your she likes wind in her hair, life without care. I'm broke, She likes the free wind in her hair, life without care. I'm broke, it's so hates California, 'cause it's cold and it's damp. That's why the lady, that's why the lady, that's why the lady is a tramp. What has happened down here now that the winds have changed? Cloud rolled in from the north. It started to rain. It rained all day, rained all night. Some people got lost in the flood. Some people got away all right. River had busted through, clear down to Plaquemine. 6 feet of water, streets of Evangeline, Louisiana, Louisiana. They're trying to wash you away. Think they're gonna wash us away. Louisiana, Louisiana. They're trying to wash you away. Well, President Coolidge came down in the railroad court with a little fat man with a notepad in his hand. Well, President Coolidge said, little fat man, it's a crying shame what the river has done to this poor cracker's land. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash us away. Think they're gonna wash us away. Well, President Coolidge came down in a railroad court with a little fat man with a notepad in his hand. Well, President Coolidge said, little fat man, it's a crying shame what the river has done to this poor cracker's land. Louisiana, Louisiana, trying to wash you away. I think they're trying to wash you away. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash you away. Think they're gonna wash you away. wash you away. I think they're gonna wash us away. Early in the morning, I can't get right. I had a fight with my baby last night. In the morning, early in the morning, I ain't got nothing but the blue. Well, I went to all the places that I used to go. Even stopped in at the Kokomo in the morning. Early in the morning, I ain't got nothing but the blues. Went to all the places that she used to stay. Knocked on her girlfriend's door. She said, get away. In the morning, well, it's early in the morning now. You ain't got nothing but the blues. In the morning, in the morning, in the morning, in the morning. in the morning. I'm going to have to take it down a button. You know, there's several tunes we do that would be appropriate for this, but I was thinking of Brother David Egan, who passed a couple of years ago, that still has a wonderful album out for sale, and all the proceeds go to his wonderful family. We do one of his songs that's called "Call Your Children Home," and you know, everybody's been telling me to stay home. So call your children home and have them stay there for a while. Tell them you love them, kiss them, cook them something good to eat, tuck them in, and maybe you guys will start this one off for me, and I believe it's in the key of G. Your very first guitar, nothing but a cigar box. Graduated magna cum laude, Miss Claudia from the University of Hot Knocks. The birds and the bees, all the buzz. Down by the riverside, real life Johnny be good if they ever was. Now you're fully grown, them simple days is gone. You up on top, your foot's on the rock, so call your children home. No doctor or psychiatrist, even medicine man understand the power of a guitar in your head. Somebody's feeling bad, make them feel real good, like they never really was alone. The pain is understood. Tonight you're on your own. Step that guitar on. Put the fire to your fender. You be the one they call the seventh son. Maybe you heard a distant calling, answered like you had done. Or could it be that Jupiter set poor Venus free? Maybe it's just the way the man intended it to be. Tonight you're on your own. Strap that guitar on, put the fire to your fender, call your children home. Come on. testify to your friend. Call your children home. Call them home.
Once again, I want to say a special thanks to Jeremy Hayes on drums, to Sean Stroop on bass, to Chris McKay on piano and vocals. Thank you for your generous sharing of your gift, and thank you. The best way to pay for a lovely moment is to enjoy it. So I'm certainly paying my part. Thank you, guys. We take just a few moments, and we take a few moments in silence, because that is the most eloquent language of heaven itself. Silence lets anything and everything be expressed. When it's too deep for words, when there's no thought or concept to shape it, we simply let the silence be the vehicle and the expression. We've all got a God-sized hole in our heart, and we've torn our lives up trying to fill it with something that's not God. It's not that it just disappears into that vast void. When we try to fill it up with something that's other than God, it tears us up, it tears our spirit up, it tears our minds and our bodies, our relationships up. And so we are compelled over and over again to try to fill that God-sized hole. And there is but one thing that fills it, and that alone is God. And so in silence, we get a taste of what that vastness is. And in the silence, we lift up our spirit, which is akin to God's own spirit. And it gets bound together, all of us from everywhere. Somehow in the universal conspiracy of grace, all that we lift up is gathered and empowered and made somehow effective in influencing the change that we pray for and look for in ourselves and in the world. So a few moments of silence. And especially we always remember every week those that have no one to pray for them. There are those that are, for whom social distancing is, that's not something new. In fact, that would probably be an improvement if they had something to actually distance themselves from. There are people that are extraordinarily isolated and alone. And so we lift up those that have no one to pray for them so that nobody's left out. But there's another group of folks that I want us to always remember now on these Friday nights. I want us to remember those that are in healthcare, in medicine, EMTs, those that are working to provide all that is needed and necessary, both in the background and those that are face-to-face with the victims of the virus, with the families that are destroyed, with the fear and the anxiety that grips us, especially doctors, nurses, EMTs, first responders, all those that work with them. A few moments of silence. And after that, I'll say the Serenity Prayer, and if you would say it with me, it would be wonderful. And then I'm going to ask the band to play one more song, and they'll ease us out of this. Serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thy will, not mine, be done. Amen. Let me give this word of blessing to you all, especially a word of thanks, but also this. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. And now one last bit of music. Thanks to the band for being the sanctuary of music for our gathering this night.
It's our honor to be here. Well, if you ever plan to motor west, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Well, and wine from Chicago to LA, over 4,000 miles on the way. Get your kicks on Route 66. Down from St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looking mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico. Don't forget Winona, Flagstaff, Arizona, east to Boston, San Bernardino, wherever you ever plan to motor west. Take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. If you ever plan to motor west, take the highway, no longer exists. Get your kids on Route 66. Get your king on Route 66. On Route 66, get your gigs on Route 66. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.